Hello, I'm Nick Powles, CEO of Mainland. How do you build a franchise development budget? This is a tricky one. So generally speaking, franchise sales in today's world, in today's time, call it 2020 through 2021 through 2022, roughly, if I'm playing blindly, I would say around $25,000 per deal is what you should market. So you want 10 deals in the next year. The way that you set up your budget would be 10 times 25,000, which equals $250,000. Now this is a blind budget, but it gives you something to play with. Now, why? And some people might balk at that and say that's pretty high, but let's go through a few things. One, just generally speaking, in a franchise broker network world, that's about what we're paying per deal. So we're going to pay for it anyway. Now, the benefit of paying a broker is that it is a deal that's come to you. So you're paying for action versus ghost spending, which there is value in that, which, brokers should be a part of your mix as long as you're in a brand category that has something that is attractive to the broker network. But the second part is looking at the deal value. So if you were to engineer back the value of a deal, what is that franchisee worth to you? You start seeing a few different layers. Layer one is not the franchise fee. Throw that to the side. The franchise fee should be used to onboard the franchisee, support the franchisee, and get them over to the level of success that you expect them to hit. The deal value really comes from what are you going to get from royalty in the first year, times 5, times 10. That gives you some sort of number. And if you're onboarding or prospecting the right way, you get someone that can open up 3 units. Now you can have a multiple of 3 just to get to the starting point of deal value. Now, this is where you can expand it even more. You could take a multiple that you're going to eventually exit at. So call it 5x to be safe. Or you can engineer and say, on a 3-unit deal, this is about how much money it's worth to the business. And then you take out your operating expenses and you look at your bottom line, and now you can at least see what that number is. And most likely that number is far beyond $25,000. So the joke that I would say to a franchisor that goes, oh, I don't want to spend $25,000 per deal, I would say, okay, then let me write you a check for $25,000. You give me a check back for what your deal value is, and we got a deal. So when you start looking at it more wider and holistically, you see the impact on a deal to your business and how valuable it could potentially be. And therefore, you're willing to spend to get the right candidate in place. So now when you're creating this budget blindly, you can start with the $25,000 per deal as a starting place, but you don't always have to come up with the cash right off the bat. You could create a rolling budget that every time you sell a franchise, you take a little bit of the funds that come in and you put it back into the development budgets, just so that you can keep that momentum going. That's not really a set budget. Also, in the way that the prospect moves, I may extend the timeline of what I'm looking at, maybe not annual, maybe go 18 months out so that you have a little bit more stretch room, because the marketing that you do today is most likely not going to impact your brand for 3, 6, 9 months to a year. So now when building this budget, that's all blind stuff. When you're dialing into your own budget, what I would do is I would look at how much you spent last year, how many deals came in, and that gives you roughly a number to play with. Now, obviously, you're looking to improve that, so you may shave some off the top. But this way, you can start looking at what is attraction that you have based on your past data and leveraging it to get to your new franchise budget. Also, I would look at your target markets very carefully and look at the markets that you need to get lifted. If you need more lift, you might have to spend more in those markets. So now a franchise marketing budget is not always created equally. You might have to create some shifts in the way that you deploy those dollars. Now, in a beautiful digital world, you can be very specific. You can say, I want 10 units in Chicago. I'm going to deploy a little bit more capital to Chicago than maybe Dallas, just so that we could try to get lift. I'm going to look at traffic to my website. I'm going to look at applications and deals that come through that. But I'm going to build a KPI tracker that helps you understand, are you deploying your franchise budget evenly and correctly? So now when you're building these budgets, hopefully these are some statistics, some data, some insights that might help you on creating it. So if I'm looking into next year's budget and I probably start budgeting now, I would take a $25,000 or your very specific data. I would multiply it by the number of deals that you need to get done. And that's where I would start from creating a franchise budget.